You are listening live to the Vito and Vito Show.
Disrespectful to the executive branch.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
Don't sign the damn deal, and the president won't.
Therefore, I do not believe that the majority can vote a man's life or property or freedom away from him.
And we are live here on the Vito and Vito Show. I'm Vito.
And I'm Vito.
And you're listening to the Vito and Vito Show live from the basement of the Empire State Building. Check us out at www.vitoandvito.com for network listings. Go ahead, give us a follow on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. And allow me to let my co-host explain just what you're listening to.
Bringing you the perspectives of two college-age millennial conservative libertarians out of liberal hellhole, Brooklyn, New York. We're committed to defending the principles of free markets, freedom, liberty, and individualism. I'm a Reagan devotee.
And I am an Ayn Rand lover.
Vito, we have a pretty good show lined up tonight.
Yes, we do, Vito. We have a great show lined up. Explain to the good people at home just what we're talking about.
Gay marriage.
Okay.
The SCOTUS report last week came out.
Uh-huh.
Greece is also gay. I mean, they're bankrupt. I'm sorry. Greece is bankrupt. And the Donald.
Uh-huh.
He's fired from many places.
Uh-huh.
I am upset because I don't get to go to Macy's for the Donald Trump ties that I can't afford. I just like to look at them.
You like to look at Donald in the ties? Is that what you're telling me?
And the toupee.
Does this fit in with the whole gay theme for tonight?
Well, it is. We got the rainbow flag everywhere.
Yes, we do.
But nobody can see that. So all they know is that we have that flying every show.
Listen, Vito, the Supreme Court of the United States and their tyranny. That's what we're talking about here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. The tyrannical nature of the Supreme Court. Tyranny. That's how I'm going to describe this. If I'm going to describe what the recent Supreme Court decision that came down last week about gay marriage becoming the law of the land. I mean, Vito, this is groundbreaking stuff. What we see here, ladies and gentlemen, and regardless of what your position is on marriage, it doesn't matter. I don't care what your position is. I don't care if you support gay marriage, straight marriage, government-enforced marriage, the privatization of marriage. It doesn't matter. Because the Constitution, Vito, is very clear on this issue. Marriage is a state's issue. It's a states' rights issue. Vito, break this down for me. You're more of the constitutional scholar than I am. I'm just a fool that sits here on the show and screams a lot. So go ahead and break this down for us.
The Constitution, very simply, the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment says that anything not listed in this Constitution, these couple pages, whatever is not specifically in there, is left to the states.
Correct.
For the states to decide and legislate.
Mm-hmm.
So now, where in the United States Constitution does it talk about marriage? The correct answer is nowhere, which means you go to the 10th Amendment, and the states will deal with it. And this is what the United States has been doing for all these years.
Right.
Texas can say, we don't want gay marriage. New York can say, of course we want gay marriage. Whatever the states decide, because the states elect their legislators, their local representatives to make these decisions. This was the intent of the Founding Fathers.
Correct.
Now, the intent of the Founding Fathers is forgotten by many liberals today, and it's gotten so close to the point that now we see the Supreme Court has done the same thing. The Supreme Court, if you want to get really technical...
don't get too technical, Vito. I'm pretty slow. Well, so let's try to keep this as simple as possible.
The Supreme Court defines the law. What is law? They read the law.
Okay.
And say, well, this is unconstitutional. You can't do this.
Okay, well, I just want to point out that there is an ongoing debate right now in conservative libertarian circles, those on the right, remember, the constitutionalists. We currently debate if judicial review is even a legitimate function of the Supreme Court.
That's what I was going to say, but then you say you're slow. So
all right. Well,
I took a step back.
I guess I'm pretty fast.
Because Marbury versus Madison, the famous Supreme Court case in 1806.
Okay.
Around then, very long ago, this created judicial review.
Right.
But the thing is, judicial review is not in the Constitution. It was created by a Supreme Court case. So it doesn't really make sense. It's not in the Constitution. The Supreme Court cannot do this. But anyway, we follow that precedent for hundreds of years, and we get to the point now where the Supreme Court now deciding on gay marriage, it got a little complicated because they're supposed to just read the Constitution and just say if this is legal or illegal under the Constitution. These judges read it and say yes or no. But the problem is they kind of misinterpret everything.
Right.
Okay? They did this with Obamacare also.
Well, did they
last week.
miss it? Now, here's the question. Was the misinterpretation deliberate? Meaning, was it politically motivated? What was it about the Supreme Court's motivations here? What were they thinking? Were they trying to make political inroads? Because that's what I'm thinking.
Well, many conservatives, even Justice Scalia, said this is all political.
Scalia called them hippies, by the way. My man, Antonin Scalia, fellow Italian from New York, from Queens, we're from Brooklyn, but a fellow Italian-American called the majority opinion justices that agree with the majority opinion. He called them hippies, Vito. He straight up called them hippies.
He said, ask your nearest hippie what you feel about gay marriage. I mean, he's
a funny guy, but he's right. And he goes on to talk about how this issue was really left to the states, like you were referring to before.
Except in 1861, right after the Civil War, remember this?
Okay.
They came out with the 14th Amendment. They came out with a new release. The 14th Amendment they passed that said everyone is under equal protection of law.
Right.
Now, the original intent and what most people for all these years have interpreted that as is that you cannot discriminate the law against a black man or a white man in the court of law. Right? You can't just arrest black people and say, well, we're not going to give you your rights because you're black, or we're going to change the law. You know, you're equally protected. It doesn't matter what race or anything. But they expanded that interpretation to say that also goes for gay marriage. Because if straight people can get married, why can't gays? Okay? But they understand that under the umbrella of protection of law does not mean that if straight people can get married, why can't gays? All these different things. It's not specific law created under the state. Because this is still a state issue.
Okay.
So this is what people don't understand. So when they say this is a victory, if you don't like it, you hate gays. Well, even if you're for gay marriage, you have to see how these things are created.
Right.
Because this is now a slippery slope.
Right.
This is the 14th. They used the 14th Amendment for this, and that is not right. Because immediately after this court case, people argue that the 14th Amendment also protects pedophiles.
This is the new. Oh, and I heard the next one is going to be polygamy.
Polygamy.
I know, like incest is going to come up. So this is what I throw out to the left is all the time. I throw this out to the left. I want to know. And I'm someone, by the way, that believes in the privatization of marriage. I think marriage should be out of government hands. I don't think they should be defining marriage or anything of that nature. So, to me, this is a BS issue. It's a state issue, but it's an issue that marriage, who defines it, it's an individual thing. Let people decide on their contracts. I'm very libertarian in that regard. I don't really care. But I just want to clarify the tyranny of the Supreme Court right here. What they're doing is they are defining marriage outside of their jurisdiction, encoding it in the Constitution by misinterpreting what the original intent of the 14th Amendment was, and they're basically just rewriting the law. So the question is, are these people representative of the people if they're going to have this legislative power? Because that's what they're doing, ladies and gentlemen. They're legislating from the bench. You heard this before, and we're breaking it down for you. They're legislating from the bench. All these people are doing are basically writing law in black robes. Did you elect any of these Supreme Court justices, Vito?
No.
What does the Declaration of Independence say? I'll break it down for you, Vito. I got my app right here. And a tattoo on my arm of the Declaration of Independence. And it says, if I can just go past my elbow.
Where'd you put the John Hancock signature?
Well, somewhere else. You can figure it out. But listen, if you take a look at what the Declaration of Independence say, the Declaration of Independence on this 4th of July week, it says that these governments are instituted among men with the consent of the governed. The consent of the governed. Did anybody consent to being governed by the Supreme Court of the United States? No. You read the Constitution, right, Vito?
A few times.
Where does all legislative power rest?
The Congress.
The Congress. Not Article 3. Article 1. So I don't care what the morality of marriage is. I don't care if you think marriage is a thing from God, if you think it's a social institution. I don't care. You shouldn't care. when it comes down to the Supreme Court's decision-making right here, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what we all define marriage as, what our disagreements are. It doesn't matter. Because, you see, the Supreme Court at this point has opened the door to doing what they've been doing it for years, but now they've basically solidified this. Rewriting the 14th Amendment to whatever they think the 14th Amendment needs. What did Clarence Thomas, by the way, next to Antonin Scalia, is my favorite Supreme Court justice probably of all time. Vito, what did Clarence Thomas say about marriage?
He said that the government cannot take away a person's dignity.
Well, okay, dignity. So we'll talk about dignity first. He talks about, because the majority opinion predicates their argument on the gay people just want the same dignity as everybody else. And okay, that's cool, whatever. We here on the show, like we said, are libertarians. We give dignity to every individual who lives.
What, self-respect, power,
sure,
equality.
Self-determination, who you are, you define yourself, individualism, Ayn Rand philosophy, you get it. So, they're predicating everything else on dignity. And this is where Clarence Thomas's genius really shines through. He says, say it again, Vito.
The government cannot take away a person's dignity.
They can't take away a person's dignity. Well, Vito, what is your dignity?
The state or quality of being worthy of honor or respect.
Now, who determines that?
Not the government.
Exactly. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are a nation of laws, not a nation of men. And men can't dictate away our dignity. Men can't turn around and tell me that I'm worth less than the other guy. Men can't tell me who I am as a person, as an individual, as a human being. Look, we all agree in individual rights. That's why we're conservatives. We're not liberals who think that you could just trample on individual rights or gay rights or this rights. We don't believe in that crap. We believe in individual rights and that everyone has a right to life, liberty, and property, the pursuit of happiness. Keep in mind, keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. When you get into a debate with someone on the left, when you have to sit down and deal with one of these green-haired looking, smelly, foolish liberals, when Sandra Fluke walks in and asks you to pay for her birth control, or George, what's his name, Tayaki, from the guy from Star Trek, who turns around and called out Clarence Thomas and uses racist language in order to get his point across. When these fools come and want to argue with you over marriage, and they say gay people deserve the same dignity as everybody else, you sit there and you tell them, hey, pal, the government doesn't define dignity. That's not the purpose of government. Everyone is digniful, if that's a word, because all of us have individual rights. The government is not responsible for basically telling me that I'm good enough. Listen, pal, I know who I am. I am good enough. I'm an individual. I got my own mind. I could reason. I'm rational. I'm a human being. Don't tell me I have no dignity. And Clarence Thomas also brings up slavery in his opinion, and he's in his dissent.
Caught a lot of heat.
Yeah, caught a lot of heat. Caught a lot of heat from the left and even some on the right. And I'm telling you, Clarence Thomas is a brilliant man. A brilliant man. And I give him props for coming out and doing what he does. Especially bringing up this point about dignity. I love it how he goes right after their central point in their argument, and what the majority opinion talks about, dignity. They want dignity. They do got dignity.
Right, because he caused so much heat. We'll get into that a little later too, that he said that slaves, that the government didn't take away their dignity. And people say, what? They were chained and whipped and beat and everything.
They certainly were treated bad.
Yes. But look at the definition of dignity. Your quality of being worthy of honor and respect.
Who determines that?
Not the government cannot say, you know what, you're black, you don't have dignity. Oh, okay, I don't have any respect. No. You know who you are. Mm-hmm. You understand you're human. You know the government was wrong at the time. Right. And that's why things changed. He's not saying, well, slaves, they were fine. No, it's not what Clarence Thomas said. People took him out of context. Okay, it was like a 49-page dissent.
Isn't it
really
shocking?
Taking one quote?
Well, because that's what the left does. They take things and they... You know, they'll take people out of context because they're a bunch of fools, ladies and gentlemen. This is what the left does. This is what liberals do. They're going to take you out of context. Why, Vito? Why do they take us out of context? Because none of these people, like you said before in previous episodes, ever use logic and reason to get their points across. What does the left do? They call us racist. They call us homophobes. They call us sexist. They call us morons. They call us tea baggers. What do they call people on the right? You can think of everything in the book. Go through a book of insults and you'll see that's what the left uses as their arguments. insults. They use emotion. They use foolish arguments. Because they can't handle the truth. They can't handle what we tell them. And the minute you step out of line with somebody on the left, you're automatically considered an outcast. God forbid if you're black and conservative, my God.
The few.
The few, the proud. Seriously. If you're black and conservative, just think, look at Clarence Thomas. He gets destroyed. If you're a woman and conservative, look at Joni Ernst, Sarah Palin. They will eat you alive.
But they coexist.
They coexist.
Right.
These foolish fools.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, the left is just, they're a tyrannical party in and of themselves, and they use our institutions to enforce their tyrannical agenda. Think I'm a crazy person for saying that? Look at the original meaning of the Constitution. Look at the 14th Amendment. Look at the 10th Amendment. Look at the erosion of what this country is going through. The rule of law, Vito, being shredded right in front of us.
I brought up a point on Twitter last week when...
Easy. Don't hurt yourself when you bring up these points, Vito. I know it takes that intellectual strain. I see you sweating over there.
Think about this. The slippery slope created by the 14th Amendment being invoked for the gay marriage. Now, yes, people talk about pedophilia and polygamy. But what about, here's this. Now, gay marriage licenses have to be acknowledged in every state in the union, all 50. So if you get married and you go down to Texas, now they have to recognize your marriage, right? But why aren't gun licenses recognized in every state?
That is a great point, which I'm going to take credit for because I did tell you to tweet that out.
Actually, I thought of it.
Oh, yeah, sure you did, yeah. All right.
We're going to go with that.
We're going to fight. Like Lennon and McCartney, we'll just split the credit. Like a communist, we'll just go. Like a good little communist, we'll split the credit down the middle. But
right.
that
You
doesn't...
get 50%, I get 50%.
Right. But that's a great point.
Especially because we have a Second Amendment right to this. You don't have a right to marriage. You just now have to recognize all the licenses.
Right.
You have a right. It says it in black and white. Shall not be infringed.
Right. The right to a gun you're referring to. Now, the question is, what about a right to marriage? You know, as libertarians, and I got this argument a lot, is Vito, you're right, yes, the Second Amendment says that, you got a right to a gun, but not all the rights are listed in the Constitution. I tell you to look towards the Ninth Amendment, the liberals will say. And even some libertarians who agree with the ruling. And they're like, well, you see, marriage isn't in the Constitution, blah, blah, blah. But it can be inferred that one has a right to contract. And that's a great point. That is a great point. Not bad for a leftist. But I give more credit to the libertarians who came up with that argument. But the Constitution is written in a way, especially the 10th Amendment, specifies that the people, and the states reserve rights that are not enumerated in the Constitution. The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Keyword, ladies and gentlemen, the power is not delegated to the United States. Vito, it's black and white. Not delegated to. If it's not in black and white, the federal government can't do it. I find it remarkable. Remarkable. When the left bases their arguments on a living constitution, on an evolving constitution. Unbelievable.
And my favorite is now so many people who came out and said, oh yes, gay marriage, we won, you have the right to marry. They don't really understand what happened. They don't understand how this could be bad. No, it's not. I'm not saying it's bad because gay people now can get married in the last 14, 16 states who didn't allow it.
Right.
It's bad because it's a slippery slope.
Right. And again, let's just make this clear. When it comes down to marriage, I don't care. I think a man, a woman and a woman, whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as consenting adults agree into the marriage, that's fine. Provided it is voluntary and they all consent. And they could stipulate a contract with their own terms and have their own marriage agreements. I don't give a damn. That's how it should be. And honestly, the state shouldn't be defining marriage, in my opinion. But if they're going to, it's a state decision. Last point, Vito. Why is it that there are 1,100 federal benefits that go to married couples? If we're really going to take this whole discrimination argument to an extreme, I'm calling for equal benefits for straight people, for single people. Because if married people can get tax breaks, and married people can get tax credits, and married people can get special privileges under the tax code just for being married, damn it, what about me and Vito? Do we got to marry now? Each other for that case? Considering we can?
You said now, like we have to rush this?
Now? As if we aren't already? No. Do we have to drop out of college and marry one another in order to receive 1,100 special federal benefits?
Wait, why can't I stay in college and marry you?
Whatever. I'm not arguing this. Is that equal protection, ladies and gentlemen? Is that equal protection under the law? Come on. Come on, man. Take this to an extreme, to a logical extreme. You see where it falls flat.
Because logic has extremes.
Well, of course it does. And the left right away is going to say, no, that's not what we mean. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't matter. Like polygamy, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Come on, baby. Take your ideas, your premises, what you believe in deeply to an extreme. Tell me if you could hold up to the fire. Can I put your ideas to test in the craziest of circumstances? If I can, it's probably true. And if I can't, well then what does that tell you, ladies and gentlemen? They're cherry-picking facts because that's what they do. The left are nothing but tyrannical fools. And it starts at the top with President Barack Obama, and we're going to play clips with Hillary Clinton in just a little bit, Vito. Mm-hmm. I want to show you where they switch their positions. Go ahead.
A few times. I saw a chart. It was, I think, 6 times Obama flipped since 1998. Mm-hmm. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Traditional marriage, states' rights, amendment.
Right.
That's a question.
Right.
Why do you think people wanted a constitutional amendment for gay marriage? Because it's not in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So if it's not in the Constitution, it goes to the 10th Amendment. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Why do you think people argue this? Why do you think they came up with, maybe we should have an amendment? Or, instead, let's reinterpret the 14th Amendment. No! You need an amendment to put it in the Constitution. Right. That's how it works. That's how things work. You don't get to change it. Like, they're dead for 300 years. Maybe we can tweak these things. No, you don't do that. Okay?
This is my argument for those who don't think that the Constitution is a living document. Straight up, let me ask you this. What is the purpose of a government, Vito? To protect?
Your rights.
Your rights. Life, liberty, and property. If the government can now redefine what life, liberty, and property means, are they really protecting your life, liberty, and property?
No.
If tomorrow life begins at conception, and then the next day life begins when you're 50 years old, you tell me what life government is protecting. If liberty means one day, back in 1776, back in 1800, back in whenever, yesterday for that matter, if liberty means walking outside and taking a breath of fresh air, and the next day the government makes a law that says, well, liberty now means you have to do it under the threat of, under the supervision of government, is that really liberty? What do these principles mean? Is property one day the money you earn, and the next day all money is government? Come on, baby. What are we talking about here? You cannot reinterpret the rule of law. You cannot reinterpret natural law. Whether you come to that conclusion via Ayn Rand's observation-based morality, whether you come through it through God, through John Locke, I don't care what it is you come through. If we all agree with individual rights, we all agree that you cannot touch them, tamper them, and change them at your own will and whim. This is what Rand talks about. If you like Ayn Rand, I suggest you read her philosophy. Because she talks about stuff like this. The minute there's no objective meaning to law is the minute when governments and courts can basically rewrite anything they want, and that's where you get regimes like communism and Cuba and the Soviet Union and stuff like that. Mm-hmm.
Who we just gave an embassy to.
We won't put an embassy in Jerusalem, ladies and gentlemen, but we'll put one in Castro's backyard. I mean, come on. Disgusting. Mm-hmm. Listen, Vito, we're going to break. When we return here on the Vito and Vito Show, a little bit more about this decision, Donald Trump and Greece. It's socialism disaster. When we return here, Vito and Vito Show.
This is the true story of 2 friends living in the People's Republic of New York City who work together and have their conversations taped to find out what happens when conservatives stop being politically correct and start getting real. We are Behind Enemy Lines. Watch your wallets. Thursdays at 1 on WNJC, part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network.
Who might you save?
Your mother, your father, your husband, uncle, aunt, son.
Learn FAST, F-A-S-T, the sudden signs of a stroke, and you could save.
Your friend, teacher, boss.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. F-A-S-T. That's F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, S, speech difficulty, T, time to call 911. The sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in the recovery of
Your neighbor, the waiter, grandmother, grandfather.
So learn FAST, the sudden signs of a stroke, then pass it on, because you never know who might save you.
Your wife, your colleague.
Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
And we're back here to the Vito and Vito Show, bringing you the best here in conservative talk. Vito, tell the good people at home where you can find that website.
VitoandVito.com, and be sure to follow us and like us on Facebook, The Vito and Vito Show, at Vito and Vito Show on Twitter and on Instagram.
That's right. Check out the website, VitoandVito.com, for network listings. Vito, I want to talk a little bit here about the gay marriage issue. I want to talk about the politics of this, baby. I want to talk about the politics here. Let's go ahead and play something.
I love when you play clips.
I want to go ahead and play the first clip. Here you go. Listen to this.
Define marriage.
I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman. Now, for me as a Christian, it's also a sacred union. God's in the mix.
Would you support a constitutional amendment with that?
That's President Barack Obama in 2008 telling everybody that marriage is between a man and a woman. That's President Barack Obama talking about, in 2008, what he defines marriage as. Do you see a flip here?
You mean in 2012, right before the elections?
Not 2012, 2008. First time out.
But I'm saying then in 2012, right before the elections,
go ahead.
he comes out for gay marriage.
Yep.
I guess how many gay people voted for Obama?
I think what? I thought he's the first gay president, right? Cover of Newsweek, first gay president, President Barack Obama.
Wow. Yep. He was on time.
Yeah. Hero of our time. President Obama. Radical shifter. What a reformer for gay rights. Back in 2008, sounded more like John McCain when he comes out talking about how marriage is between a man and a woman. Okay,
but John McCain hates gays.
But John McCain hates gays, and I'm not defending John McCain. He's a rhino, but I'm just trying to say, let's take a look. Let's compare the two. John McCain, Barack Obama's stance on marriage in 2008, marriage between a man and a woman. Then he says he's a good Christian, which we're not even going to get into. Let's go.
Don't get us started.
Let's go ahead and play the second clip. Here, listen to this one.
Why not?
And because historically, we have not defined marriage in our Constitution. It's been a matter of state law. That has been our tradition. Now, let's break it down. The reason that people think there needs to be a constitutional amendment, some people believe, is because of the concern that about.
So right there, Vito, President Obama blatantly tells us where this. Now here's the constitutional scholar in Barack Obama. See, they listen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, he had the right idea before he became president. Then he became president and totally messed everything up because he tells you right here where this issue belongs, in the federal house or the state house. Vito, where does it belong?
State level.
That's what you believe, right?
Well, that's what the Constitution says.
And who else just said that?
President Barack Obama.
Candidate Obama in 2008. Candidate Obama. This is a state issue. This is something that marriage has always been defined by the states.
Let me be clear.
Michelle's got bigger hands than me. Let me be clear. It's a state issue. This is the guy who's supposed to be the champion for gay rights in America, who blatantly tells us that it's a state issue in 2008. All his constitutional leaning, his judicial philosophy, all of it. He tells you blatantly that it's an issue reserved to the states. Now he go ahead and flip-flops because he wants to what? Win maybe political points? Maybe build a legacy just like his opening of trade in Cuba? I don't know. Maybe one of those that can't be that, right? Vito? No, it can't be. He's genuine, right? Like the left says.
My conspiracy is halfway through his administration, he realized that Michelle is actually a man, so he had to come out and support a gay man.
Oh, come on. Can you imagine that? You marry a man. You have no clue. You probably have no idea in the world.
The horror.
You wake up the next morning and you're like, wait a second, that's not a leg. Imagine Imagine that. Listen.
That's one argument against premarital sex.
There you go.
You gotta do a test run first.
Yeah, there you go. You don't want to wake up one morning like that. But what is I mean, come on. Blatantly telling you that it's a state issue. It's a state issue, not a federal one. So President Barack Obama, who spent his life studying the Constitution, changes his whole judicial philosophy after he becomes President of the United States in order to leave a legacy. The man is looking to become a transformational president. He is Ronald Reagan, just not the right Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan transformed the Democratic Party, transformed America, transformed what this country stood for. President Barack Obama is doing the same thing. The difference is he's able to do it by using a leftist agenda. The worst part about this is that he doesn't care how he gets to his ends because to him the means don't mean nothing.
He promised hope and change, and he said he will fundamentally change this country.
Yep.
But people only hear what they want to hear.
Well, because they're idiots.
Good, we got it right.
I want to go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and just give you Barack Obama's position here in 2008 until he evolves on the issue. Go ahead, play the third clip.
I am not somebody who promotes same-sex marriage.
Right there. He does not support same-sex marriage. Again, we here on the show don't care what you want to call it. Do I support straight marriage? No. Do I support gay marriage? No. I support individuals contracting freely. Get the government out of marriage. But I want to show you for political gain just where President Obama was on this issue before and where he is now. And he's not the only one to flip-flop, by the way.
Oh, no, of course not. Well, but after this ruling, Mississippi actually came out and said that thing about getting government completely out of marriages.
Awesome. Get government
Wonderful.
out. Let people be left alone. That is the beauty of people. They can figure it out on their own. We're not dumb. You could sell like marriage certificates and how to build a marriage contract at Walmart.
Hey, look, honey, I'm not leaving.
You can think of all the great things the free market could do in order to legitimize this institution. It doesn't have to be done through the state. I just find we could talk about this whole issue.
And Ted Cruz comes out now and says how Texas will not just follow the law. This is what the Constitution, this is what the Founding Fathers wanted.
Right.
That if the federal government does something unconstitutional, that the states have a right not to cooperate. This is oppressive government. Yeah. This is not, Ted Cruz, you guys should impeach these Supreme Court justices.
Well, I mean, that's a great...
They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
That's one of the arguments that Ted Cruz brings up. Steve King, a lot of these congressmen and senators are bringing up that point. You have the power of impeachment. Use it, damn it. The founders thought that the Congress of the United States of America will be able to check the powers of the Supreme Court. The problem is the Congress is too afraid to step on the toes of not just the Supreme Court and the executive branch, but because of their lobbyist friends as well. So you have nothing but a culture of corruption in Washington.
And because of public opinion.
Oh, of
Do
course.
you imagine if Congress impeaches these Supreme Court justices
it's all over.
gay marriage?
It's over.
They will be the biggest homophobes ever. They'll go down in history as people who hate gay marriage. But what is this? We're going to follow public opinion? Mob rule? This is not a democracy. Listen, you can be upset if you call me a homophobe, fine. You're an idiot. You don't understand what the 14th Amendment says. You don't understand anything about law. Just go home and smoke the rest of your weed and call me a homophobe. I don't care what you do. Okay? You don't understand how things work, so leave it to the big boys to take care of this country.
Yeah, the problem is people don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. They want to smoke their weed in the nothing against weed, by the way. Again, we are libertarian. Well, I am at least, so. There you go.
Like Rob Ford from Toronto.
There you go. It's crack, my friend.
Drugs.
I here on the show support the legalization of drugs.
Yeah,
Vito supports the legalization of drugs and subsidized pot for only him and himself only.
And hookers. I love that private contract clause.
Let me play. You know what? I want to play something else from somebody.
Who?
She's running for president.
Is it Hillary Rodham Clinton?
Yeah, listen to listen to Hillary Clinton back in 2004 as governor of New York. Go ahead, play the clip.
I believe that marriage is not just a bond, but a sacred bond between a man and a woman. I have had occasion in my life to defend marriage, to stand up for marriage, to believe in the hard work and challenge of marriage. So I take umbrage at anyone who might suggest that those of us who worry about amending the Constitution are less committed to the sanctity of marriage or to the fundamental bedrock principle that it exists between a man and a woman going back into the mists of history as one of the foundational institutions of history and humanity and civilization, and that its primary principal role during those millennia has been the raising and socializing of children for the society into which they are to become adults.
There she is. Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Rodham. We're not talking about Bill. That's Monica's job. Man, they flip-flop and follow public opinion like it's nothing.
Yeah, but she's not the only one to flip-flop. President Obama flip-flopped. President Obama flip-flopped. Hillary Clinton flip-flopped. And I love it how you could basically tell back in 2004, she's not genuine about where she stands. She's basically BSing her way through her speech. You just heard it. A fundamental social institution. She sounds like a moron.
Bippity-boppity?
Bippity-boppity, exactly. As my family would say. Bippity-boppity-boo.
Que cosa?
You hear her stumbling over her words. She don't know what she's talking about. She's not sincere in her beliefs. She's not sincere in what she's thinking. She's yapping and she's screwing over herself because she's not genuine. Neither was Barack Obama, ladies and gentlemen. Let me make one thing clear. Those on the right are principled people. Why? Because conservatives like Cruz and Lee and Paul, etc., Barry Goldwater even, they would tell you what they want. They'd tell you their principles. They'd write books, damn it, that would outline their political philosophy. And they would do what they're going to do by means of the Constitution. By following the Constitution. They're not going to usurp the powers of the Constitution. They're not going to make up laws. They're not going to use the Supreme Court. They're going to tell you what they're going to do, and they're going to be forward about it. Now, the left, completely different. They hold principles. Oh, yes, they do. They're nothing but radical socialists. They're communists on the left. They believe in income inequality. They believe in the 10 planks of communism by Karl Marx. Read it. I'm telling you. But they don't believe in the Constitution. They believe that the ends justify the means. They're Machiavellian. These people are evil, ladies and gentlemen. They don't care how they get to their end result. And they're willing to trump the rule of law, consent of the governed, the social contract, everything that this country was built on. They're willing to steamroll right over it, right on it, right under it, crash through it, to impose the leftist agenda that is known as liberalism. So if you're an American on this 4th of July holiday weekend, do me a favor, stand up and spit in the Democrat Party's face, because the Republicans, not even the Republicans, conservatives have been getting kicked in the face for too long by people who claim to love America. They don't love this country. They don't love what this country was founded on. They're radical socialists, I'm telling you right now, so best watch out for the Democrats.
You bring up loving America, I just want to throw this in real quick. 4th of July, they decided, Gallup did a poll, who is proud to be an American? Out of the poll, 54% say they're proud, down from like 80% a few years ago.
God. Democrats or Americans?
Americans.
Americans in total.
Americans in total, 54% are proud to be American.
Where'd you get that poll from?
Gallup.
Wow. Gallup? Wow. That's a legitimate poll. It's not like a BS,
See,
this is a real
it's not
poll.
me on the clipboard in the corner.
Yep. And that's not the only time you're stuck on the corner, Vito. Okay, listen, Vito, we got a special segment here, ladies and gentlemen, we like to call the Forget About It clip.
Forget About It.
The Forget About It moments of the week. Listen to this.
Wow.
Forget about it?
Forget about it.
Forget about it. Paul, forget about it.
Forgetting out in moments of the week. This is when we break down some of the craziest moments in politics. Top 3 in our book, and we basically tell you why they're crazy and just the bizarre world that we live in. We break it down for you, ladies and gentlemen. And in Brooklyn, we have a saying called "Forget About It," which basically means, wow, did that really just happen? And I look at you and I say, Vito, that did. Forget about it. Number 1, Vito, on the list.
At the Gay Pride Parade last week, one of the gay paraders spit on Father Jonathan Morris from Fox News.
Oh, my God. They spit on him?
Yeah, he tweeted about it, and then even the left then said he was a liar.
Oh, come on, man. That's ridiculous.
Priests don't lie.
Of course not.
He never touched me.
You're bad.
I swear.
You were bad. You were absolutely bad. But very funny at the same time. All right, number 2.
George Takei called Clarence Thomas, he says, a clown in blackface.
Oh, that's ridiculous. You see, this is the irony of the left, ladies and gentlemen. You see, the minute we come out and we say, whoa, why is the White House a rainbow flag? That's a disrespect for the nation, blah, 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 blah. You know, like, we give our legitimate arguments, and then the left automatically cuts us off. With comments like this, these racist, homophobic comments towards conservatives and people on the right, and we gotta sit here and take it? Are you serious? George Tanaki, Tasami, whatever your name is, you're a moron.
Hosato Sadaka.
Okay. Whatever. George Kawasaki, he's a moron, this guy. He's gay, by the way. So, and he's like a big proponent for gay rights.
I know.
But this is what he believes in? Come on, baby. This is unbelievable.
Clarence
Thomas is a clown in blackface. What about Dr. Colonel West, that communist professor? He called Obama a Rockefeller Republican in blackface. You know, I'm waiting for somebody on the right to say, hey, like Alan West even will get up and say, you know, Obama's a fool. And he's called a racist. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Number 3, Vito.
TV Land.
Okay.
Decided to pull Dukes of Hazzard because of racism.
Unbelievable.
Pulling the whole show.
Unbelievable. That's the Confederate flag thing, right? Some people just, they don't understand. The PC police, baby, out in full force. Listen, Vito, we got to go to break. When we return, Twitter fan of the week. What's our last little segment about Greece and socialism when we return?
It's important to plan ahead for emergencies, like the storm. When it kicked in, we had a plan. Separated. We were able to get in touch with each other in no time. Idea how to find each other. The whole experience was the most frightening 10 hours of my life. If there's one piece of advice I'd offer other moms out there, it's to stay calm and keep to the plan.
Some parents plan ahead, some don't. Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Start your plan at ReadyPA.org, brought to you by ReadyPA, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
And we're back here to the Vito and Vito Show. Check out www.vitoandvito.com for network listings, our latest articles, and past episodes. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Vito and Vito Show. Again, the Vito and Vito Show in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.
That's right. And we only lie occasionally. We lie on our income taxes. Vito.
I just don't pay them.
We just don't pay them.
If the Reverend Al can get away with them, why can't I?
Exactly, Vito. Way to stand on principle. Vito, Greece is broke.
They just foreclosed on the Parthenon.
Yep. The home of Aristotle and Plato.
They refinanced that too.
They refinanced that. The School of Athens, they sold all their marble. It's all gone.
All their statues of naked men.
All their statues.
Good thing. The Scottish report of the gay marriage in the United States, they can buy all the gay men.
There you
statues.
go. There you go. See,
all the naked men.
There you go. All the naked men. All of the naked men of Greece being sold in order to finance their socialist disaster. I mean, come on. This goes to show you, again, remember we were talking about before, taking things to the extremes logically. This goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, the extreme of socialism. Take a look at the extreme of democratic socialism. Vito, Bernie Sanders today raised almost $20 million.
Mm-hmm.
He's a self-described democratic socialist. Self-described democratic socialist. Greece is a democratic socialist nation.
Please Something is clicking.
What happened to Greece, Vito?
They defaulted.
They defaulted on their debt.
Mm-hmm. You know how much they owe?
How much?
$271 billion.
$271 billion!
Which I believe is 150% of their GDP.
Yep. I owe my loan shark.
Like a nickel. You owe me some money.
I owe you some money.
Mm-hmm.
This is how the Vito and Vito show has officially come to an end.
You realize
my kneecaps are broken.
Their debt, Greece's debt, is like around the budget, almost like New York.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's a little higher, New York State at least.
I did not know that.
$271 billion. That's not a lot of money.
That's not?
No.
That's not crazy.
I mean, please, that's
President Barack Obama spends that in a day, baby. Yeah. Democrats go through that in an hour.
Please.
Come on.
You think the socialists were bad?
You think? Wait till you see this fool.
But the problem is that it's 150% of their GDP.
Right.
And all their people get to retire when they're 22. Mm-hmm. So I'm planning on moving there after the show.
Well, not necessarily. You're close. A lot of them, like 30% of the Greek economy, the labor force of Greece, 30% of them are on the government. They work for the government on the government payroll. And we all know that nothing for the government is free. So as a result, we see the destruction of a once pinnacle point of society. Greece, the home of Aristotle, the birthplace of reason, Aristotelian logic, Plato, the Republic, Pythagoras, that stupid formula I had to learn in high school. We see all of this stuff come crumbling down.
Because nobody learned that theorem. And now they're broke. Kids stay in school.
It comes crumbling down when socialism becomes the dominant social, system in a society. And to me, this is what is astonishing about those on the left. Like Bernie Sanders has raised $20 million, $20 million, 18 point whatever. The guy raised a crap load of money. And here we are looking at this and saying to ourselves, why the hell are people investing in a failed policy? They're investing in a man who's promoting a failed policy. Mm-hmm. Democratic socialism.
You know why?
Why?
Because it can work here.
It can work.
They didn't implement it correctly.
Yeah. It didn't exactly. They didn't implement it correctly in Greece. They didn't implement it correctly back in the Soviet Union. They didn't implement it correctly back in China. They didn't implement it correctly back in all of Europe.
They ran out of other people's money.
Bingo. These morons, these leftist idiots, run around and clamor and scream and yell for shared sacrifice and redistribution and blah, 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 and they just rattle off terms at the top of their list and they just throw crap at you. Again, they use emotion. And they tell you that it's unfair. Why can't we be more like Switzerland and the Scandinavian countries? Why can't we be more like Europe where education is free? And healthcare is free. And these idiots don't understand, and this is what astonishes me. These people are supposed to be like intellectuals, and they honestly believe that a lot of this stuff is free. You can't believe that stuff. You can't sit here and tell me that these things are free. It goes to show, take a look at the Scandinavian model back in the 90s. What did the Scandinavian countries have to do?
With the massive government intervention?
Of course, they had to reform their programs. They had to reform their economic model. Remember when the leftists were screaming and yelling that we need to look more like socialism? We need to look more like the Nordic countries. Well, take a look at the Nordic countries. Mm-hmm. They had to reform their economic model because it was unsustainable. Unsustainable. You're going to sit up here, ladies and gentlemen, and tell me that Greece is a model for economic success, prosperity? How about we go back to the 1800s where we saw real economic prosperity? Do you really care about the poor people in this world? Take a look at capitalism. Take a look at free market economics. That's where you see the most improvement, the greatest improvement for the ordinary lot of people. That's where you see it. Capitalism, not this nonsense of socialism and shared sacrifice and redistributionist policies. Vito, I'm pissed. Greece is broke. We can't vacation there anymore. The olive trees, that's it. It's gone. They're all rotted away. They have to sell all their crap. It's over, Vito. You know who's going to save them out of debt, though? I know one man and one man only.
The Donald.
Donald Trump coming down to save socialist Greece, Vito. Now, this guy... Now, listen. Now, in the past, I've come out and I said Donald Trump is an idiot. I said he's a fool for running, and he's screaming, and he's making a mess of himself. I'm beginning to rethink my position because this guy is starting to make sense. We all know what he said about illegal immigrants, and I love that he's pissing people off. Vito, tell us his next victim.
He got fired.
He got
fired last week from NBC, Miss America, Univision, who he's suing for $500 million. Don't mind that.
$500 million at Donald.
He's suing him, and Macy's, and he's pissed. Not because he's gonna lose a lot of money, because he's like he's worth $8 billion. Yeah,
he's
that's like a good chunk of Greece's debt.
I'm quoting him. I'm really rich. Donald Trump.
I'm really rich.
I'm really rich.
He's right. Nobody can buy. No lobbyists can buy him. He's got all the money.
Well,
he's got all the money. Spend them on himself.
Well. What do you think? You think now, like I said, I'm beginning to rethink my position on the Donald. I actually think he's a great businessman.
Yeah,
I have his book, The Art of the Deal. I've read it a couple of times. It really is a great book. He's a very
smart man.
He's a smart man. He's a champ when it comes down to the business world. But, what do you think of him running for president, Vito? What do you think it is? What do you think here? Is it legitimate? Is he really making noise? Is he really doing the right thing?
I think he's more legitimate than, say, George Pataki.
I think George Pataki's an idiot.
Well,
I think he's a rhino. He banned smoking in bars and restaurants here in New York, and that's my biggest pet peeve. But yeah, I would say that. I think he is more legitimate. Because he's making noise. He's second in the polls nationwide.
He is. He's second in the polls, which means you probably get on to debate. Which I think even your mother says she's going to start watching these debates.
She don't watch TV.
Or she's not politically involved.
Oh yeah, we can say that too.
That's a better answer.
If you're not watching politics on TV, you're not politically involved. If you're not watching TV, it doesn't matter. That's just my definition, but I'm a crazy person.
That's become reality, TV.
Well, it's going to be great. Listen, it's going to be great to see Donald Trump on stage yelling and screaming at like Jeb Bush. I can't wait to see it. And then you have Ted Cruz in the corner, who's going to be he's going to be a superstar watching him perform.
Yeah, if he can fit on the stage. How many people?
He's getting 16? On the stage. He'll get on the stage. Him, Paul. The big shots are going to get there. But Donald Trump is going to make some noise. But let me tell you something about Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen. He's bringing up points that we've never thought somebody would bring up before.
Right.
He's really talking about groundbreaking stuff.
You know how many people are now talking about the illegal immigration system?
It's about
what's
time.
happening here?
Yes.
You know, I started calling me racist because I think we should close the border. Sure. But people are starting talking about this. But instead of talking about how racist and how much Donald Trump hates Mexico,
he loves Mexico. His quote.
Some of Mexico.
He loves
not
Mexico.
all of them are rapists. You know, there's a few. You know, they work for me. But they should be directing their attention on this heat and argument to the elected officials.
Right.
People in Congress who should be doing something about this illegal immigration problem. Not, oh my God, you hear what Trump said tonight? No. He has a point. You should do something about this.
Well, that's what makes Donald Trump so revolutionary, is because the guy is so big and so powerful and he has all this gravitas to him. You know, he's going to attract some attention to the issues, and I think that's a great thing. Which is why I'm beginning to rethink my position on him. Maybe the guy could actually do some good deeds here. The problem is he has donated to Democrats in the past. I don't know how sincere he was. He was a Democrat back a couple of years ago, a Reform Party member, an independent. Now he's a Republican.
Bloomberg.
Yeah, I mean, he's all over the place. So I wouldn't pick him, but I do like the fact that he's in the race because you know what? He's actually making noise. And he's actually drawing people to the right, which I think that's what we need to go in order to win elections and in order to save the country. We got to go more to the right. We're so far to the left, it's unbelievable.
But I think, honestly, he's running for himself. I mean, he even said, you know, his mom said the only way you can be successful is if you hold public office. Not having $8 billion in your back pocket, but holding public office. So you should run for, city planner. Community organizer.
That's it. He would be a great... Imagine Donald Trump as a community organizer.
Yeah, I'm going to put a Trump Plaza here and a Trump Tower there. This is a great neighborhood.
He would be amazing next to Saul Alinsky. He would knock Saul Alinsky right out of the park.
My favorite, he's so funny. He said, of course I love Chinese. I just sold a $15 million apartment to a Chinese guy. Like, what?
I love the Saudis. Matter of fact, there's a couple of them in this building.
The Chinese bank is upstairs right now. Like... Of course I love them. He gave me $15 million. That would reverse racism.
But he's got it, Vito. He's got something, and I want to give it to him.
Common sense. He's blunt. He doesn't care. If Rand Paul comes out and says, you know what?
He did in the past. How many times has Rand Paul come out and said, maybe you shouldn't have forced vaccination against your kids. That's a violation of liberty. Boom, he's radical. Well, maybe we should go ahead and repeal Obamacare because, I don't know, it's going to bankrupt the nation. No, that's a radical position, Ted Cruz. Donald Trump comes out and calls Mexicans rapists, and it's crazy, but you expect it from somebody like him. Because
but you imagine politicians saying that?
It wouldn't work. That's why I think
Exactly.
this dynamic of having Cruz in the race is really going to give politicians a chance to latch onto him and say, yeah, I agree with this guy's maybe not to the full extent, but he's got a point. Ted Cruz said he doesn't have to apologize for his comments. He's got a point. We got an illegal immigration problem in this country. He didn't endorse what he said fully. But here comes Donald Trump knocking down the door like the Kool-Aid man, and here comes Ted Cruz with a solution behind him. And that's what I like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need a bull in front of us, and you know what? Put Donald Trump and his fake hair right in front of us. I want to see him do it.
Yeah, there's a rumor that his toupee was actually made in Mexico.
Oh, come on, Vito. His toupee was made in Mexico. That's it.
But I can see Trump up there on the stage and turn to like Ted Cruz or Rand Paul, Jeb Bush, and say, Jeb, come on, tell me there are rapists coming over that damn border. And Jeb Bush is going to have to say, something.
Well, he's gonna confront Jeb on immigration. Because Jeb Bush has been known to support amnesty. He's been known to support Common Core as well. And Donald Trump is forward about
Trump
these
should be
issues.
the mediator. Stuff from
You think so?
Yeah.
You think he'd make a good mediator?
He should mediate every debate.
You're fired. You're fired.
Wrong answer.
Wrong answer. And you throw him off the stage.
Dude,
What's your name? Ted Cruz. Wrong answer. You're fired. I can see that happening. But Donald Trump bringing a dynamic to the world and to the world of politics. And you know what? As much as people want to make fun of him, I got to give it up to him. The guy is actually making noise and talking about issues that a lot of our politicians are not talking about. Listen, Vito, we got to go ahead and get to the Twitter fan of the week.
Oh, my.
Let's go ahead. Vito, Twitter fan of the week. Who do you got?
At Ron Sanso fan, the conservative guy.
The conservative guy?
Mm-hmm.
What's his handle?
At Ron Santo fan.
At Ron Santo
I've been retweeting
fan.
him a few times this week. He's got some funny memes, funny things going on. I like him. The conservative guy.
All right. Go ahead. Check it out. www.vitoandvito.com. Check out our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Vito and Vito Show. Give us a follow. We might give you a follow back. All right, probably not. We'll send you a free t-shirt. Not going to do that neither. But go ahead. Go to vitoandvito.com again for network listings, past episodes, and our recent articles. Vito, what do you got to say?
I have an idea.
What do you have?
Instead of debates, we should just have all the GOP candidates join Celebrity Apprentice.
That's it. Bingo.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding. There you go. There's a joke of the week. There you go.
Thank you.
Use it for your 4th of July.
Forget about it.
We're recording the show here on July 2nd, and on July 2nd of 1776 is the real Independence Day. Today is the day the Congress of the United States voted on the Declaration of Independence. July 2nd, 1776, the Congress voted on the Declaration of Independence. July 4th when it was signed and said, here, stick it to yourself.
Then they ran miles to Philadelphia to read in front of everybody and cracked the Liberty Bell.
That's right. And then Rocky came out. All right, Vito. This just about wraps up this disaster known as the Vito and Vito Show. Once again, head over to www.vitoandvito.com for more information on network listings, past episodes, and our newest articles. Vito, from the anal ward of the Empire State Building.
Because we're not good enough for the first floor.
The Vito and Vito Show in Brooklyn.
It's nothing but the truth.